I want to welcome Paul Elam. His website, avoiceformen.com, is well known to many people who've listened to us over the years. I think we have a lot of followers in common. Paul, thanks for being with us.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Now, tell everybody who has not heard your voice before what A Voice for Men is all about and why we need Paul Elam.
Well, I mean, I can think of 1,000 reasons. I don't know how much time you have, but primary among them is that our mission is to reach out to men and teach them that they are worth 1,000 times more than the world ever tells them, and that they are certainly worth more than sacrificing themselves to women.
A lot of people, as in my own case, so I'm not saying this as a knock on you, a lot of people don't like you. A lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about you in the social media world. How do you react to that?
I don't care. I mean, I have an audience. I have an opinion. I express it publicly. I get support from all over the world. I get emails every day from country after country after country, and other forms of support from people who think what I do is very valuable. And of course, I get my own share of hate mail. I think that just sort of comes with being vocal, being opinionated, and not being bashful about it. And that's fine.
Now, we have not spoken since the advent of the hashtag #MeToo movement. Now, I read your websites, so I know this has come up a lot. But generally speaking, we're about a year into that movement. What has been the effect on men?
Well, I think it's helped wise them up, Tom. Maybe, you can leave it up to your audience to decide whether or not they're wising up in a good way or a bad way. I was just reading a study yesterday that women are now less likely to get CPR when they need it, even from professionals.
So that sounds like an effect on women rather than men.
Yes. Well, and the effect on men has been to follow Mike Pence rules, and which is to treat women like stinging insects, not to be in the same room alone with them, not be in vulnerable positions with them. And one of those vulnerable positions is putting your lips on them, as in doing CPR.
By the way, that has been my recommendation to men forever, not just CPR, but not to talk to women at work, not to socialize with women at work. Do you have a pencil is about as far as your conversation with women at the office ought to go. You do not help them lift that big heavy water bottle and put it on the water cooler, or help me move my boxes from my cubicle to my new cubicle, and all the things that men have traditionally done. Don't be doing any of that.
Exactly right. And I guess when I say that men are wising up, I think that the effect has been on men is that they're more willing to listen to guys like you, and they should be. This has been a monumental lesson in just how dangerous women can be.
And it goes beyond the fact that women can be dangerous, and certainly dangerous to your career and your wealth, and I can go down a list.
Right.
But it also goes to the fact that, an awful lot of men have such low self-esteem, or have so little self-worth. They don't see their own value. And so they are willing to bend over or go to any extent to get women to like them.
Exactly. And they're willing to take inordinate risks with women, putting their finances on the line, putting their livelihoods on their line, their reputations, everything, just for a hint of approval from women. It's because most men are honestly really, really weak. I think one of the biggest problem men have is that they don't want to live alone, be alone. They somehow believe that somebody else is going to lift them up. They're going to be the wind beneath our wings. There's behind every good man, there's a successful man, there's a good woman, or whatever the saying is. All of those old canards that now today are hardly true. In fact, they are blatant lies that men believe. Well, absolutely. And men really believe to their core that they're worthless without a woman. I mean, straight men anyway. They really believe that, and of course they think that the more attractive that the woman that they have, that elevates their status more and makes them worth even more. And what that comes from is a core of low self-worth. I mean, how badly do you have to feel about who you are that you will suddenly feel like you've got self-esteem and self-respect and you're on top of the world just because a woman smiles at you?
So when you have this conversation with people, they will frequently read you a list of names. Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Louis C.K., Woody Allen. They'll give you this list, and they'll say, see that, see this, see that. Does any of that prove anything?
Well, I think Weinstein's innocent.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me why, because you might be the only person publicly saying that. Tell me why you believe that.
Well, one, he's innocent until proven guilty, and he has not been proven guilty in a court of law of anything. But aside from that, I mean, let's be real for a moment here. Hollywood is a casting couch culture. Harvey Weinstein had bimbos lined up outside his door, willing to dispense blowjobs for any kind of a shot at a career in Hollywood, for movie roles and such. And that's been the culture there for as long as there's been cameras. This isn't anything new. Powerful producers have bedded down willing starlets forever and ever. And that has been the culture there. Women have actively participated in it. You look at Asia Argento, one of the main proponents that gave her little song and dance at the Cannes Film Festival about how outraged she was. Well, it turns out she was hustling an underage boy. She was cheating on her boyfriend, Anthony Bourdain. He turns around and kills himself. And this is one of the stars of the Me Too movement out of Hollywood. We're a long way from convicting Harvey Weinstein of anything. Where's the proof that these encounters weren't consensual? Because it looks like, as in many cases, they were.
Let's talk a little bit about and this is again, this is the conversation every day, and pretty much only one opinion is even allowed. I mean, I have to imagine that you saying that Harvey Weinstein is innocent, even though he is innocent until proven guilty, probably gets a lot of blowback. You know, how is this changing things? How is this conversation changing things?
It isn't really changing anything, Tom, in my opinion. I mean, Me Too is simply the codification of what we've always dealt with. False allegations since Emmett Till, since the days of Jim Crow, when a white woman would point a finger at a black guy and get him lynched, all the way up to the Hofstra case, the Duke Lacrosse case. Look at, in the last 10 years, at every major rape accusation, all the big ones out there, 90% of them turn out to be lies. The Jackie, the UVA case, the Hofstra case, the Duke Lacrosse. I mean, you'd go one after another, after another, after another, and you even got Brett Kavanaugh. You've got all kinds of people, high-profile people. Dominique Strauss-Kahn was accused of raping a maid. Turned out she lied. Turns out most of these are lies, and they're a lot of times old accusations. You talked about the weakness in men. This goes back to that, too. This core of crazy, mindless chivalry that all a woman has to do is act like she's going to faint and shed a couple of tears, whether they're crocodile tears or not. And we will pick up our pitchforks and torches and go after men, and we always have. This is nothing new. Me Too just made it official that this is the way we're going to go from now on. And we're getting guys that are Me Too'd left and right. But how many convictions, how many actual convictions are coming out of any of this? And the answer is almost none.
What about Bill Cosby? Do you think he was guilty?
I think he was convicted. And so I'm compelled by my respect for due process to assume that he was guilty. But on a personal level, I had a lot of doubts about the case. I always have doubts about allegations that come up for 20 or 30 years ago and who rely simply on testimony and in the absence of forensic evidence that we should have to convict people. So, okay, I respect the law. I respect due process. The jury said he was guilty. That makes him guilty in our system. It doesn't mean I feel good about it, and it doesn't mean that I bought that he was guilty until he was convicted.
Do you believe he was railroaded?
Yes, absolutely. I think you had an ambitious prosecutor with a whale of a case going after a guy like that, puts him in the limelight, makes him a superstar. I do think it was a railroad. But again, our system of jurisprudence is the only system we have. But I also note that Bill Cosby, whether guilty or innocent, is the absolute exception to the rule. I'll lay you odds that Harvey Weinstein is acquitted.
Wow. What about Louis C.K.? His career is ruined. Should he be working? Has he been unfairly treated?
Of course he should be working. You know, women in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, you can't have your TV on 5 minutes without hearing somebody bash men, making all kinds of disparaging remarks. Louis C.K. acted in a jerky way, okay? Plenty of women do it too. There's nothing new in this. But we're destroying careers, viable, wonderful careers, people that have put their heart and soul into their work, and they say something off color, and now even a comedian, you tell the wrong joke, and you're out of work. You're trashed. Your reputation's gone, and you become persona non grata. For what? What did Louis C.K. really do?
Well, he did, and again, I'm not defending the women's allegations. I'm just repeating what we were told. He admitted in the New York Times that he masturbated in front of these women who came into his office or his hotel room or whatever without their consent. That's what he admitted to.
Okay, turn around and walk out. I just don't get it. I mean, I understand it's offensive, but I just don't think we should be destroying people's lives over offending somebody. And the part of the reason that all of this is so hard to take with any kind of real sincerity is that so much of it is based on, now Louis C.K., he admitted it, okay? I think he probably made a mistake. But so many of these allegations are 10, 20, 30 years old. They're coming from people suddenly who found Gloria Allred when things got popular. And a lot of them are getting debunked. Do I think Louis C.K. acted appropriately? No.
What about Al Franken? Senator Al Franken resigned over an old allegation.
Yes, he did.
Should he have resigned?
I don't think he should have resigned. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Al Franken's, but what he did, he's a comedian. And they took a picture of him doing something that most comedians would find humorous and find funny. And they destroyed him over it.
Of course, he could have refused to resign. I mean,
he could have refused to resign.
There was nothing forcing him to resign. There was no impeachment process or election that forced him out.
Well, but you have the force of chivalry. You have the force of women firsters. And that is powerful. It's not codified in any way. It's not like it's an impeachable thing. But once you're tarnished by the sisterhood, you're done.
Talk to me about college campuses. Comedians like Jerry Seinfeld, who's more mainstream than Jerry Seinfeld, and Chris Rock have said they will not play college campuses anymore because of the political correctness, because of the tribunal nature of college campuses. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't blame them. I mean, who can possibly blame them? You look at the environment. I mean, I long for the days when there was a left and right in politics, both of which had some measure of sanity about them. But things have gotten absolutely freaking crazy, and they're not safe on those campuses anymore. Not only is there a threat of violence in a lot of cases, but you trigger the outrage machine that it's in full operation today. As a comedian, I mean, I don't know how some guys do it.
Why do men tolerate this environment? This is the thing that I have never understood about college campuses. When I was growing up, the college campus was a place for vigorous discussion. And you had people of all political stripes coming in and speaking. You had people of all opinions coming in and giving their opinions. It was invigorating. And when I went to Fordham University in the 70s, there was such a variety of speakers and so much of this amazing dialogue that was going on. It was exciting to be on campus every single day. Why have men allowed the deterioration of the college life, the campus lifestyle, to the point where only certain opinions are allowed, only certain jokes are allowed, and these tribunals where you can lose your college career in a moment's notice because you told an off-color joke?
Because academic ideologues have figured out that men will always do what they're told from women. That's my short, succinct, honest answer. Men are weak with women. You threaten a man with rejection from women, and they will turn on other men in a heartbeat. Selling out the academic environment is nothing. It's easy. Once you establish the rules, and they are established, that women will disapprove of you, women will reject you, women will turn on you, men will turn on each other, and they'll allow anything to happen. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what we're seeing on our college campuses right now. It's what we're seeing in our politics. It's what we're seeing in the media. We're seeing it everywhere. This is why Me Too is allowed to thrive on the accusations of a bunch of very questionable women, because we won't question women for anything. We don't even teach men to have any standards when it comes to women. Men's standards with women is, will she let me sleep with her? Their standard is she attractive, and will she let me sleep with her? Does she approve of me? That's the only standards they have. Men don't look at women for their character. They look for...
Now, did anything change in the past 2 years? Was it always like this, or is this something new?
I think it's always underneath it. It has always been there. I mean, because you have to ask the question with feminism, for instance. It was my father's generation that let feminists thrive. And he was two-time war veteran. The men of his generation would be absolutely opposed ideologically to the whole concept of feminism, and especially what it's turned into. But even they, once they got the edicts from women, they stepped out of the way. I think it just took, from the time that we passed the 19th Amendment, it took women about 70 or 80 years to figure out just how absolute their power was with men. And now we've seen that come to fruition. And it's a nightmare to look at. And now, so what do we have? We have men saying, look, I will let that bitch die before I'll give her CPR. Or no, I won't hire a woman, or I won't be in the same room with them. And no, you need a big, strong man to carry a box? Go find one. It's not me. That's what our relationships have come down to. And those are the wise men speaking. The idiots are still out there putting themselves at risk with women. And most men are still the idiots.
All I know is that life has never been better since I have worked in an environment where there are no women around. In all the years I did a radio show, we always worked at a separate location where no women who worked for the company were present. In recent years, when I've been doing a live stream, we had a company with no female employees in the studio ever. Therefore, no allegations, no claims, no past claims. You'd have to prove you've been in the room with me. And you haven't if you're a woman, because I've made sure that doesn't happen. And I've made it clear that that's been my policy for over 20 years, no women in there. And I would not hire women in the future either, not to do podcasts, not to do live streams, not to be a producer. I wouldn't do it. A company of small size like mine, we are not held bound by the laws, the discrimination laws and what have you. And so I've been very bold and blunt about it. And I have said I don't want women in my business. I don't want women near me. I don't want women around. I'll socialize with women, but if they work with me or they work under the same roof with me, the conversation will be limited to a minimum and business only, and that's it. And I'm certainly not going to lend women money or help them move heavy objects or pay their cell phone bills or all the crazy things that guys do for women. I won't do them.
Well, what has your experience been, Tom? I mean, you're the exception. I mean, if we had 1 million guys like you operating right now, it would change the world. At least it would change the culture in this country. And I've been hammering this same message online for over 10 years. Keep your distance, protect yourself, use some common sense with women, which nowadays dictates that you just don't make yourself vulnerable to them in any way at all. I was interviewed the other day by Daily Beast, and the woman interviewing me asked me, what do you advise men to do to protect themselves? And I said, don't get married and don't hire women under any circumstance. And she was absolutely aghast.
But I know that you and I are on the same wavelength. There is no benefit for a man to get married. None. There's nothing you can get being married that you can't get being unmarried.
Exactly right. And
now you have all these statistics they bring out trying to make marriage seem more appealing. For example, saying that men who are married make 21% more revenue, more income than men who are not. I don't care how much money men make. What I care about is how much money they have left at the end of the day. And I believe that married men with children, they need to make 21% more, maybe 51% more, because they have to pay it all out. They have to pay it out in furniture and pocketbook expenses and fashion expenses and iPhones for the kiddos and braces and ballet and soccer lessons. And of course married men make more money. But how much do they have left when it's all over? Nothing.
No, they're in the hole when it's all over.
Right. That is why so many people have these huge credit card debts. That is why we have over $1 trillion in credit card debt in this country. Usually it's because men get married, have kids, and they make all kinds of commitments and undertake all kinds of obligations they can't afford. And they end up pushing off the judgment day to the future. So everybody walks around with thousands of dollars of credit card debt, paying 21 to 25% interest on that. And a lot of it is to fund the cost of getting married and having families.
And yet you can still see all the time in young men who are contemplating getting married, and I deal with this with young men. I do as an individual work I do with men who are planning on getting married. The woman can have gold bricking whore written all over her.
Yeah.
And they just can't see it, won't see it. And in fact, they invite
but that is because marriage is legalized prostitution.
Sure.
If you tried to offer someone a diamond ring to blow you, you'd be arrested. But if you offered someone a diamond ring to move into your home and blow you for the first couple of weeks until the paperwork is signed, that's perfectly legal and encouraged by the tax laws, right, by the limitations now on free speech and what have you.
Men really need to start figuring out that they are not near as strong as they think they are. They get around women and all their common sense goes out the window, all their discretion, all their standards, and their values, too. The way men stab each other in the back over women, the way they forsake everything they believe in over a piece of ass, and not even over a piece of ass, over the potential for a piece of ass.
Right.
We'll have men stabbing each other in the back. So in one way, Tom, I look at it, and when I see these guys get their lives destroyed, I say, well, it looks good on you. You asked for it.
Exactly right. And I meet so many of these guys who are flat broke or worse, not only while they're married, but especially after they get divorced. And the way men get screwed in family court, there's case after case, friend after friend, neighbor after neighbor, and yet so many men don't see it. They don't see it, and they don't acknowledge it.
It can't be any clearer than that. And I think that the people ask me all the time, what do men do? I think that what men do is you got to count that there's going to be a really fortunate, special minority of men that can see all this stuff and act accordingly. And, I do what I can to try to grow that portion of the population to sort of spread the word, if you will. But the majority of men, I just write them off, Tom.
Permanently?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I get emails all the time from guys that say, I'm in my 50s, she's taking everything. I worked for 25 years taking care of her. Now she's taking everything, and she's turning my kids against me. Please drop everything you're doing and help me.
Right.
And I bet you get those messages, too.
Of course. Of course, but of course, nobody asks me until it's too late. They certainly don't consult me before they go to buy the ring. I don't know if you saw the recent TV commercial for Kay Jewelers, where it appears that a young man is asking a parent, a father presumably, for the daughter's hand in marriage, and it turns out he's not talking to the father, he's talking to the daughter by another man, trying to get the approval of the illegitimate bastard child to marry her mother. It's amazing. And by the way, TV commercials is one of the most common ways that we marginalize and minimize men. Men are dopes. Yeah. Men are idiots. Men don't know how to raise their children or talk to their children. And it is reflected time and time again in advertising like that.
And the damn thing is, though, Tom, is that look at how many men will watch that commercial and respond to it by going there and buying a fucking ring.
Right. It's pretty outrageous. Now, by the way, I've been going through your website. I do look at your website on a regular basis. And
well, thank you.
I noticed. That. Oh, of course. And I have noticed that you have an ad there for something called registerher.net. And it says #men2. Now, tell us what that's all about.
That is a registry for women who have been convicted or are publicly admitted to making false accusations of sexual assaults or other sexual crimes.
And when you create this registry, what are you hoping to accomplish by that? Are you expecting or hoping that men will check with that registry when they start dating someone or when they're considering getting married? Tell us what you intend to do with that registry.
Yes, I would like to grow into a comprehensive registry that men can consult, but also is a tool of education and a public service. We have all kinds of sexual offender registries. Every state has one. You see them for larger cities, everything else, all kinds of sexual offender registries, and no registries at all for women that make these outrageous allegations. I mean, we have some women that are listed. One woman that was listed at Register Her had made 11 provably false allegations before she was finally sent to jail. 11. I
have to imagine this pisses chicks off no end.
I would hope so. Yeah. But what I generally get when I get emails from women about Register Her is what a bastard I am for making a website.
Why are you a bastard?
Because I'm making a target out of those women, they allege.
Well, they're already making targets out of men. That's why they're in your registry.
Yes, and by the way, just so you know, most of the world feels the same way. I tweeted out members of that registry and was banned for life for Twitter for doing it.
Really?
Yep. And I was not doing anything but tweeting news stories about these false accusations. Twitter decided that was turning those poor little lying whores into targets and banned me for life for it.
Now, meanwhile, there's a website called Don'tDateHimGirl.com,
right,
where women write unverified and frequently unverifiable stories about men they've dated that they're recommending that other women do not date. Are they banned from Twitter?
Oh, of course not. They'd probably get special promotion from Twitter. They're not going to be banned from anywhere. And I will note, and what I want to point out about Register Her as compared with the other site, is that we only include women on that registry who have been convicted, not accused, convicted in a court of law, or who have made a public proclamation of their guilt.
That's outrageous. That's outrageous.
This is how, to me, this is that pitchfork mentality we have, and the chivalry that is so miscalled and so crazy in the world, is that you set up a registry for women that are getting men thrown in jail. We know how they treat rapists in jail, that are getting men thrown in jail, telling false stories just to get vengeance on them or to punish them or to get attention for themselves. And you expose those women for what they're doing, and you're the bad guy.
Unbelievable. All right, now I can't let you go unless you tell us that there's any good news or that anything good has happened, or if anything good has come out of people speaking out the way you and I are.
Well, there is one good thing that's going on right now that I'll be happy to share with you. A PhD student at the University of Southern California named Christopher Peckgaz has begun filing Title IX complaints at universities all across the United States, and is recruiting people to work with him on that now. As a matter of fact, at my channel on YouTube, there's an interview with him that's between him and myself and Tom Golden, where we're starting to outline this process and bring people in. Right now in universities, which were 60 to 65% of the bachelor degrees that are being issued are going to women. 60% of the student bodies at most universities are women, yet every program, gender-specific program at colleges and universities, is all for women, and they generally don't allow anything for men. And so Chris Peckgaz has started an organized effort to file Title IX complaints against all these universities, and by law they have to respond to them. So we think there's something good coming out of that. It's not a lot, but it beats doing nothing.
By the way, I've read about him, and I've also seen the criticism of him, and people are calling him a crank or a gadfly or a person who just has a lot of time on his hands, so he's just filing a bunch of frivolous lawsuits.
Right. Well, and they say a lot of bad things about me, too. And I guarantee you, anybody, they say bad things about you, too, Tom.
I'm well aware.
So anybody that speaks up about these things is a gadfly. Anybody that dares to argue against the sisterhood and to take up the banner for what's going on with men, especially young men in our culture, they're getting so screwed over right now. They're all cranks. They're all terrible people. I've lost count of the amount of hit pieces that have been done on me in the media. That's fine. I don't care. What I do know is that they can call him a crank and a gadfly all day long, and it doesn't stop the complaints from going in.
Totally understand, and it's something that again, all the things you talk about are things that we have talked about, and
yep.
I totally feel your pain. I totally understand, and I feel the pain of. Well, put it this way: I think I feel the pain that men are feeling and don't even realize they're feeling. I mean, I don't even think men realize to what extent they are victims, because we are always told that men can't be victims, men are in control, and therefore women are the dainty little victims being terrorized by us big bad monsters. And that's pretty much accepted.
Man, you nailed it there, that men are not even aware of the pain that they're in. They are so controlled by this narrative. They don't even allow themselves to feel the pain of that kind of disenfranchisement. I'm glad you put it that way, because there's no other way to put it. And huge supporter of what you're doing and what you've been doing for so long, which is telling men something they almost never hear, the truth.
And telling them that they're valuable.
Yep.
They are right more often than they think they are. They have value to our society, that men deserve to keep all that they've worked for, all of their wealth, They deserve to go to school and get as much education as they can, and then keep the benefits of having that education, and not be handing it out to women who eventually will take half or more of everything they worked so hard for.
And they need to know, guys, if you're listening to this, listen to it. Half or more. And that is irregardless of whether you get a divorce. If you stay married, you're going to lose all your assets. If you get a divorce, you're going to lose all your assets. That's the way it works for men. Don't get married.
By the way, another thing I've been recommending to men is do not fall for these TV commercials for services like 23andMe and Ancestry. You know, they say, "Ooh, send us your DNA and we'll tell you whether you're a descendant of Queen Elizabeth," or things like that. But the reality is that DNA is being kept in a database where your bastard children that you don't know about are looking to find you.
Absolutely.
And whether they're looking for big emotional reunions with you or whether they're looking to take your bank account, you do not send your DNA to anyone ever. You have to treat your DNA under lock and key.
Yes, treat your sperm like it's gold. That includes not being a sperm donor. Don't do it.
Right? How about the guy in Kansas who in an alternative newspaper met a lesbian couple who just wanted to have a baby. They just wanted to get pregnant, and they would let the person participate or not participate, whatever they wanted, and then the lesbian couple broke up, and one of them came after this guy for child support.
I wrote an article on that when it happened. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. That's the kind of outrageous stuff that I'm talking about and that you're talking about, and this is the kind of thing that I want guys to be aware of. Paul, tell everybody where they can find you. Obviously, your website, your YouTube channel. Where can people see what you have to say?
You can find my website at avoiceformen.com, and you can find my YouTube channel is called An Ear for Men. And there's 200 some odd videos expanding on everything that Tom and I have been talking about, going over borderline personality disorders, the pitfalls of marriage, you name it. We've just about covered it all there. But you're always welcome. Come in and listen. And guys, you got to figure out that you are worth more than you've ever been allowed to believe. People lie to you about your worth. They tell you that your worth is based in what you do for other people, what you sacrifice. That's all garbage. Your worth is intrinsic, and if you don't wake up to that, you're going to end up losing everything.
Well, you have to remember, people who tell you you're worthless, and it starts with people's parents.
Yep.
And many parents tell their kids, you're a piece of shit, you're nothing, you'll never amount to anything. Usually when people tell you you're worth nothing, it's because they want to take all of your value and use it for themselves. And that, of course, especially includes girlfriends and wives. You're worthless, you're a piece of shit. Because when I was married, back when I was stupid, I challenged a woman on camera when they were making a documentary about me 20 years ago. She gave a laundry list of her grievances with me, and I said, well, stop me before I kill again. If you have that many problems with me, there's the door. You better get out of here. Why are you tolerating this abuse? Why are you staying? Did she leave? No. No, of course not. So guys need to realize, and I try to remind them all the time of their own self-worth, because the parents, their families, they're not going to do it. The friends are not going to do it. And the women you marry who you think are, behind every great man, there's a great woman. These are especially the suspects who are going to tell you have no worth and are going to try to take everything you actually are worth for themselves.
That's your role, guys. What you do with that information is up to you.
Exactly right. Paul Elam, avoiceformen.com. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you, Tom. You keep up the good work.